Hello, my name is Bob Niels and welcome to the Introduction to Databases Part 1. The purpose of this video is to try to spend a little time reviewing some of the questions that you were assigned as your first assignment of this course. As you know, based upon your last name, you were assigned a certain set of questions. These may have been them, or possibly these were not them, so I want you to listen to this so you make sure that you have a good start on the course. This particular assignment was nothing more to help you get some of the terminology out of the way, some of the concepts out of the way, and hopefully help you understand why you're learning what you're about to be learning as we move forward. So again, just a quick introduction, nothing too hard, and hopefully nothing that will take too long to discuss in this video here. Okay, so for the most part, our objectives for this video, as you kind of see my theme in regards to developing these videos, is really to answer all the questions, or the first set of questions from the assignment. That was, what is a database? What is the purpose of a database? What is the history of databases? Why are databases important to the software developer? What is SQL? What does SQL do? And how does SQL relate to programming? All right. So let's go out and kind of look at what I found and kind of the answers I hope that you found and discuss these a little bit. What is a database? Again, I did the same thing probably all of you did if you were assigned these set of questions and Googled them and came up with some answers. The first one, a structured set of data held in a computer, especially one that is accessible in various ways. All right. A database is a collection of information organized to provide efficient retrieval. That one, to me, is the key to databases, the efficient and effectiveness of storing of data. And the whole goal is to provide the ability to retrieve the data on a timely, very quick basis. That's what a database is. It's robust in its sense. It can do a lot of things. We'll talk about that as the course continues, maybe even a little bit later on in this particular video, the next video. But for the most part, it's a way to store data and be able to retrieve it. And we store it efficiently and effectively to be able to efficiently retrieve the data. Okay? What is the purpose? Again, a little repetitive here, but the purpose of a database is to store and retrieve information in a way that is accurate and effective. Effective means the answers are right, and it also means it's timely and it's quick. Okay, in today's world, I know all of you know this, you want information immediately. And most of that information is coming from databases one way or the other. We don't have time to sit around and wait anymore. We expect instant feedback on any kind of data we're looking at. If we don't get it, we get frustrated pretty quickly. I know I do. So that's why databases are very important. They need to be there. And the only way to get that data out efficiently and effectively and fast is to make sure that it is stored correctly. All right? The most important aspect, and I wrote this part of it, the most important aspect of programming, meaning you can get away with a very poorly written program. We're going to teach you not to write those, hopefully. However, you cannot get away with a poorly designed database. I use an example quite a bit, eBay. I mean, eBay, the actual programming code you don't see, obviously, and so all you see is the front end of eBay. It can be very poorly written behind the scenes, so much so that it might take a little longer to process, but not enough that you could really tell. But if the database is not designed correctly, and if data is not stored correctly, there is no way eBay could do what it's doing as quickly as it's doing, meaning having a global auction going on for various products all over the world. Instantaneously, I mean very quickly, it can't do it. It needs to be able to retrieve the most current information as quickly as possible. We're talking nanoseconds here. So the database has to be done very well. All right, so learning databases is probably as important, if not more important, as learning programming code. The history of databases. Yeah, I went out and found an old picture of mine using those tapes. You guys seen these before. For the most part, the traditional history. I provided you this. I'm not going to go through it all for this particular video, but I did provide a nice URL here and link to a nice timeline of databases. I welcome you to look at them. I provided that also by this video, so you can click on it and go to it. It kind of talks about the history of databases from basically 1960 on. The one I'm kind of more interested in that you understand is that, when I first started programming, now I'm aging myself, we did a lot more batch processing with tape drives, meaning tapes were basically a flat file, one record at a time. We basically saw data, and to find a piece of data, it had to go through the tape to go find it. That would be very slow. eBay could not really work that way. We have come a long way to the point of, and why do we do that? Why was it like that? Well, tapes were inexpensive back when I started, back in the 80s. Disk drives were very expensive. I'm sorry, tapes were inexpensive, but disk drives were very expensive. They were very big. Your little USB drive that has a terabyte on it now, or even these little that you can now get, used to take up a whole floor at a company. Trust me, I used to take people on tours of these floors showing all these disk drives that pretty much equaled up to a terabyte of data. Now, it fits in the palm of your hand, if not less. So there was this huge need for faster and immediate retrieval. People always wanted to get data, information as quickly as they possibly could. So hardware got cheaper, disk drives got smaller, hardware got cheaper again, and it just kept going on. And as years progressed, that's what we really saw in regards to the progression of computers, is that things got smaller and faster and cheaper. Thus, now we're getting into more sophisticated databases, and things can be more, information can be pushed out much more quickly. Today, we're looking for information over a cellular network. 10 years ago, the things we're doing now on those phones, on our phones and other devices, is something that never could have been done. So it's amazing where it's come from in really a short period of time. And it's going to be amazing to see where it goes as the future comes to fruition here. All right. Why are databases important to the software developer? Just about 99% of all business applications utilize a database. Now, a software developer can, go a couple different routes: application programming, or it could go also, computer science, if you will, building, writing programs for something to work. In that case, there could be a database, maybe, maybe not. But for business applications, eBay, for instance, since we talked about that one, a database is required. So as a software developer, you will either create a new application from the beginning. You'll be asked to develop something brand new, a new storefront, a new this, a new that. Or you'll walk into a company that will already have existing databases, and you need to write software against those. Regardless, you need to understand how to develop and read a database to be able to do either of the above. And that's what this course is going to provide for you. SQL, based upon how you want to look at this. Structured query language. I think I may have called it source query language before. I'm sorry about that if I did. With that said, SQL is the short term, and pretty much that's what people call it everywhere. But SQL is a programming language specifically created for databases. It is the most widely implemented database language. Everybody has a need for SQL. And that is true. I tell people when they conclude this course, you have now gained a skill that is marketable. After one course, 15 weeks. I found this on the internet. I wanted to share it with you. According to Guru, 50,705 jobs were advertised in 2015 that required SQL knowledge. And the median salary for a position that requires this knowledge is $81,000. Not bad. So, since I'm teaching this to you, or maybe your other instructors are teaching it to you, a 10% kickback per year would be nice. But with that said, it is a very nice thing to learn. It's not overly hard. And like I said, at the conclusion of this course, you'll have a nice foundation on SQL that will be marketable immediately. What does SQL do? Well, SQL is used to share and manage data, particularly data that is found in relational databases. We want to talk about relational databases in the next video. Using SQL, you can query, update, organize, as well as create and modify the schema, basically the structure of the database. The control access to the data, and control access to the data. Common software used for SQL servers includes SQL Server, that's from Microsoft, MySQL, which usually is paired with PHP, and Oracle. There are other ones out there, but these are probably the three biggest ones that you will hear about. There's small desktop types like Microsoft Access, which is very powerful also, but these are the robust databases that are mostly used in industry, the ones who you'll see more often. How does SQL relate to programming? Kind of answered this already, but again, SQL is used in various ways that include different tools. Throughout the curriculum, we'll teach you some of these things. There's great reporting tools that you can actually get some unbelievable reports and develop unbelievable reports in seconds. Once again, all SQL driven. However, for an application programmer, you use SQL within the programming languages themselves. Kind of repeating myself here. So as mentioned, all business applications use a database to store data. Therefore, SQL must be used to interface with them. So once again, you need to understand programming languages, and you need to understand SQL, and you need to understand how a database is designed or defined for you to be able to effectively use SQL to retrieve that data and to store data. That's what an application programmer does. And so this is one piece of the model. Your programming languages that you'll be learning is another piece. And then finally, at the end of all of this, we're not really at the end, your next step in all of this would be bridging this all together in subsequent classes that you'll be now writing SQL statements within your Java code and using logic and data and so on to develop a very sophisticated database application, basically programming application. All right? Anyway, that's it. Just a quick tour through this. I just wanted to help make sure you understood some of these things. I probably, more than likely, these are some of the same answers that you found when you did your assignment. But once again, if you were assigned the other questions, hopefully this is new to you and a little bit helpful to help you get started. I welcome you once again to maybe listen to this one more time. Make sure you have a decent understanding of some of these concepts because these is what we're going to be learning. With that, your next job will be to go listen to Introduction to Databases Part 2.